had so much time to do this while I was waiting for this to get set up. But today I can't have that green screen showing, but that's okay. We'll just go live here. So welcome everyone. Thanks so much for having me. I had mentioned that this presentation was really going to just be about how I overcame, a stressful situation and what I did to just take the matter that was in front of me and manage it, right? Manage my emotions, manage the, reactions and emotions even of my family to make sure that we still come out positive and in the, and grounded and have the right perspective. So I'm going to put the link to the, the link to the presentation here in the comments so that you can follow along, because it's basically a PowerPoint. I have it right here. Right here. Share it. Okay. 1 second here. Mihili, Auntie Jolene's coming. Okay, be ready. The money's right up here. And I'm going to put it in the comments. So here it is. That should be, oh shucks, not that one. Not that one. Sorry. Delete that. I need you to have the PDF file, which I have. The PDF file is here. Copy link. So a lot of techie things to do, but you do it. You overcome because you want to go ahead and share what you learned. So anyway, my presentation is about tending to your stress, right? A situation that you've had to deal with. And basically, I just share my story here. So I'm in Limahong. I'm 20. I've been married 23 years now. I'm actually 52 years old, but I have 2 young adult children in college, and I have over 20 years of experience in human resources and education administration. And I was along my way in my career, in my life, and goals and things that I had in mind for myself. But along the way, even after getting extra education, certifying myself, climbing the corporate ladder, if you could say, thinking that that was really what I needed to do to better my life and to be maybe a better provider for my family. And eventually I found out that I had a supervisor come in and have a different agenda for the area that I worked, and had a different agenda and plan for me, and made some changes that were quite surprising and difficult for me to initially experience. And if that's ever happened to you, I mean, it happens, that's life, and you're dealt with a different trajectory for yourself, or a different direction, and it's sort of out of your control, it's out of your hands. That's what happened to me. It was out of my hands that people made a decision for me and my work. And instead of just crumble, cry, be hateful, be fearful of what happened, I really had to regroup and gather myself and my perspective, and I had to stay positive, because I knew that was really who I was as a person. And I had to be that person of that voice of reason too for my family, because if you're like me and you're fortunate enough to have a family who protects you and supports you 110%, like I have, Well, they can be led to believe that you're a victim, right? This sort of challenge and stress in your life is making you a victim. And I really had to regroup and I had to redirect those thoughts that my family had about the situation. And you have to be a leader, right? All moms and dads in your household, there's just pivotal moments in your life where you have to suck it up, right? Um, Crumbling is not an option, right? Walking away from a situation that you're knee deep in stress while your family is still counting on you is not an option. So your options are to be positive and gain a better perspective about what's happening and not be a victim. But all along, you can still proceed through life. You can still strive, you can still achieve. And I found that out by going through this matter. So as I went through this feeling and this change in my employment, I started to search. I looked on social media. I always believed in passive income, but the general methods of passive income that I knew about didn't involve the computer and online. It was the more typical methods of passive income, real estate, you know, services that you might provide on a regular basis, even, selling things like doTERRA, or Melaleuca. So I was aware of those methods, okay? But as I searched, I found that there was a method of creating an online business that could create passive income. And along the way of learning those, and those two methods could be affiliate marketing or digital products, but along that way, I also knew that I had to develop the positive mindset so that I could be a digital entrepreneur. Because there's a number of challenges and setbacks when you do that, when you take on anything, any adventure. So I developed my thinking around, okay, so what's my message going to be, right? What's common about me? What can I provide in my business? And I found that I really gravitated towards the message that I help people improve both their wealth and their wellness, right? Really prioritizing both at the same time, although it's a vast and it takes a lot of work, it's necessary for you to achieve true happiness, right? Just being wealthy with a complete struggle with your mindset, negativity, self-doubt, limiting beliefs could hinder and actually prevent any acquisition of wealth. Just focusing on wellness, which is very important. I've actually prioritized that above wealth, but just pursuing that and not being able to provide action or take actionable steps to achieve that life of luxury and abundance. If you don't put attention on that either, then you're off balance. So I really try to hone in on providing both of those priorities in my one message. So what were some of the strategies that I took to really overcome the stress of learning that my professional identity, my job, my setting, my purpose had all changed? Okay? I had to resort to mindfulness. I had to resort to dealing with really the reality that was right in front of me at that very moment, instead of worrying about what would happen with that sudden change, right? And it's normal for many people to just start to guess, right? To just start to play out step by step by step by step how how things could fall apart, right? When you're dealing with a challenge in a stressful situation. If you're dealing with a coworker that has negative emotions around it, do you find yourself sometimes playing out a conversation that you had with that person that you would have done better at, right? If they came across in a certain negative way and you didn't deal with it the way you felt you wanted to, later on that night, Are you replaying that conversation over and over? I know I was. Um, are you replaying or are you speculating about how things are going to turn out for you, your family, your husband, your children, your friend, your siblings? Like, are you playing that out? And that's the kind of lack of mindfulness you can have that ultimately takes you in spirals you into negative thoughts and just keeps you in that vortex of negative thoughts. Okay? When you really want to be empowering yourself and giving yourself positive affirmations every day so that you're in the vortex of positivity and not negativity. Attending to the present with non-judgment, right? Just acceptance of where you are at the moment, what you're doing at the moment. It takes some practical steps, and that's why I'm here to share with you. What could those be, right? Not many people know how to practice mindfulness. You may hear about meditation, you may hear about positive affirmations, but do you really practice them, right? What are they? When do you do it? How do you practice it? That's all very necessary in your journey, in life, in overcoming stressful situations. So some tips I have here to share with you today may include, right, staying away from negativity and surrounding yourself with positivity. So what does that mean? Okay. I imagine in the course of your day, you could easily come across 50 to 100 examples of negativity, right? It could be certainly on social media, but it could be in actual live conversations. It could be in texts. It could be in emails. It could be also in your own head. You could have hundreds of negative thoughts run through your mind. And if you aren't equipped to recognize them, be aware of them, and to shift them, turn them around, or eliminate them from your mind and your thoughts and your very existence, you're gonna just drown in those negative thoughts. Okay? How do you shift them? You can do them with you can do that by having a sense of humor, interacting with somebody who is abrasive to you or negative to you, whether it could be like a passive negativity where they're just kind of on the side saying a little something about you, you could just kind of laugh it off. You don't realize the power you have by walking away and laughing it off, right? Just ignoring something, just laughing, just giggling, giggling to yourself. You have an inside joke that you're equipped to walk away from that negativity, to not let it affect you. It sort of just rolls right off your shoulder and you just keep going in your day. You'll be surprised and amazed how convenient that step is, how easily you can access it, because it's just a little giggle. It's just a smile, at someone. Almost, you're impenetrable. Impenetrable. That's a word, but you can't let their thoughts and their negativity penetrate your aura, your existence, your essence. Okay, let me just check here. And you can also, of course, believe in yourself, right? So what a person might be saying to you or about you, if it's not true, then it's not true. Who knows you better than you, right? And how many times, I don't know, as moms and dads, you have to help your child who's maybe interacting with negativity. How do you help them? You help. Now, the first step you do is you demonstrate it, okay? In your parenting. I know it doesn't come with a book, so parenting doesn't come with a book or a manual, but how you model positivity and avoiding or walking away from negativity is the biggest gift you can give to your children. It's not easy to It's not easy to do, but it's so necessary, incredibly necessary, um, because our children watch us more than they hear us. They really watch us more than they hear us. So by, I'm just looking here, by demonstrating and modeling that when you come across a negative situation, how do you deal with it? They're watching you. So you could deal with it with that sense of humor. You could deal with it just by that belief in yourself. You could talk to them about what you experienced and sort of what was going on in your mind and how you managed it. Of course, leave the adult stuff to the adults. We can't burden our kids with adult problems and stressors, but you can share with them in a very age appropriate way how you dealt with it, how you stayed positive. And lastly, you certainly can practice gratitude. Okay? Not only is that just the most powerful way to, sort of cleanse even yourself, right? Thoughts and things that burden you, is by identifying all the blessings that you might have in your life. And they're there. Okay? I'm not here to preach and judge anybody in the circumstances you're in. You could be very, very wealthy and very unhappy. And you could be not as wealthy as the other person and quite happy within. So just identifying the moment, even before you open your eyes in the morning and you're still lay, your head is still laid to rest, but you're awake, right? So before you open your eyes, you can say a little gratitude. You can express gratitude. Thank you so much for giving me this day. I am thankful and blessed, for having a good night's sleep or having my sleep, having the opportunity to wake up to a new day. And then as you go through your day, you might journal, you might write down things that you're thankful for, a quick 5 sentences, and you could still start your day. There's really there's no way of, I'm sorry to say, like, no excuses for taking the time to express gratitude and to practice it, because it has such incredible intrinsic benefits for all of us. And when you're, I'm not going to say if, I'm going to say when you are faced with a challenge that you're blindsided by, or you are, of course, you're surprised by it, and you are in pain from it, right? You're either grieving, or you are stressed, or your employment has changed, certain things that are really important to you have changed. If you have already taken on that practice of gratitude, you can have a better perspective on what's happening to you. Okay? It's hard to describe it all the time, but it's there. And it can be an inner strength that you already have, right? And you've already developed. So, sense of humor, believing in yourself, and practicing gratitude are really very convenient, effective ways to cope with stress. Even in the practice of meditation, I'm not going to really elaborate on that, but the concept of meditation, this is a very good message around meditation. And it says the perfect moment is this one, right? Mindfulness. The perfect moment that you are in is this very moment that we are in now, right? You are in exactly the right place, doing exactly what you need to do, because that's where you are at the moment. And that's very helpful message to help other people understand that. Okay? I also have in my presentation here the PDF, the positive mindset PDF that I want to give out here too. I'll put it in the comments. And basically it is just that there's methods to have a positive mindset. What is it? There's a description in that PDF that I'll put in the comments below. Now, part of my message, again, as I've said, is talking about stress here. And I have a 3-day challenge coming up in December for a simpler, stress-free holiday with your family. And not many people are aware that in our family systems, whether, whoever is in your family, you could have an immediate family and you could have a more wider circle of family, right? In these systems, they're complicated. They're just complicated because if you're an adult like myself, over 50, you've had many years to have communication with family members that were very effective, or communication with family members that were not very effective. And all of these people are moving throughout this family and creating relationships that are built sometimes on how we are conditioned in our household. How we were raised in our household, we bring to our new family. If you're my age, you have a new family, which is your husband and your kids, let's say. But I still have my conditioned feelings and emotions around the family I grew up with. And so these get really complicated. And around the holidays, no different, no better time for those complicated relationships to flare, right? And any issues that are unresolved to flare up. So in my challenge, and I want you to join me, I'll have the link also in the comments here on my Facebook training here, and I'll put it in, you'll actually find it in my link on TikTok there too, my account. You'll see that jumping into a challenge like that to equip yourself with an awareness of those family systems and possible simple strategies to sort of interact with your family that if you had difficulty in the past, so that you can just interact in a very respectful, cordial, pleasant way so that you can all enjoy your holidays. Okay? So go ahead and check that out. I'll have that links again, as I mentioned, in my account. Go ahead and then press that there for TikTok, and for Facebook, you definitely can get it in the comments here, as well as in my Facebook group that's also listed on the PDF presentation. But overall, my hope is to still connect with you, to assist you if I can in my story and how I overcame the stress of a sudden and abrupt change in my employment, my position. If I can share the steps I took to become a stronger person, to have better perspective, to assist my family in not overreacting too, right? So that we can still stay as a tight unit and still stay unified on our goals and not let, sudden changes that other people place upon you. If you're able to overcome that, that's a win. Because once you deal with that, you can pursue anything, right? And then I talk about building wealth with passive income. I talk about that at length. I have free training in my Facebook group, and I have a community of people that you can learn with. I have an incredible teacher and mentor, incredible life. It's a lifelong learning, lifelong assistance and support. I have this new affiliate program in my group that is, nobody even knows about it. I swear, guys, nobody even knows about it. That they are seeing such high ticket possibilities and commissions already. People are getting it already as we speak. And so I like to share that. I find that passive income methods that you learn with the help of a community, with the help of somebody like me, help of a community, and you learn it thoroughly, and then we just stay connected in that way to just see you build your own online business with both things considered right and prioritized. You're prioritizing your wellness with a positive mindset, and now all of the things that you need to do to prepare that pillar, and then learn passive income methods and build all of those passive income streams to come your way. You have these two pillars you're standing on that create a incredible foundation for yourself. So if you enjoyed this, go ahead and like, follow, comment. Thank you so much for joining me here, Exerzing Left, John Taheri, Jane Graham. There's a number of you here on the live right now. I really appreciate that you just stopped by to say hi. Valerie, thanks so much for joining. And if we connect or if we don't for today, just have a great day. Keep yourself in an appreciative, grateful mood. Nothing's going to touch you if you can just work to stay in that vibration and positivity, understanding that things happen because they need to happen for you, because there's growth that you need to go through, and accept that. You'll be phenomenal. I'll sign off here. My Facebook. I'll sign off here on Twitter, on TikTok. And just thank everybody for jumping in. Actually, I'll end the Facebook here. Oh, I should put in the comments. Wait, I'm going to put in the comments I'm going to move this TikTok just a bit, okay? Just hang on there. And I'm going to get not that one. I'm going to pick up this one. Copy this into the comments, okay? Okay, and then lastly, I need to pick up the challenge. Here. Wait, I usually have a blurb. I have a blurb here that talks about my challenge. Nope. Shucks. I need to find a better way to put this together. Okay. Understanding and coming. Family systems and conditions for a happier holidays. That's that. Super.